समांतर के 5 काहीतरी
आइए अशोक जी, क्या खबर है?
हो गया सर लाइव।
हाँ नमस्कार।
Very good morning, everyone. Welcome you to this meeting on charitable trust, friends. Let me communicate to you that there are so many meetings virtually and physically we had organized in last 4-5 months, and Akhil ji had always been supportive. Sanjay da, Akhil ji, and Ramesh Patodia ji, and so many other speakers are always being supported. Next Sunday also we are organizing meeting, the meeting on charitable trust only. Akhil ji, Pransukha ji, Sushil Pransukha ji, the Mehta ji, they all agreed that they will be the speaker on the next Sunday. Next Sunday we will be taking ITR also apart from other issues. So thank you Akhil ji, Sanjay da, and the delegates. Due to all of you, the meeting is over to Pallavi.
Thank you, Nitesh ji. Now, welcome Akhil ji, welcome Sanjay ji. I just like to introduce our speakers. Akhil ji, he is a CA, Dr. Akhil Jindal, FCA, ICWA, PhD in Income Tax, ICA, ISA from ICAI. He is a recipient of Delhi Ratna Award in professional category in 2009. 2009 recipient of Faculty Award from NIRC. He is in practice in 1992 and a senior partner in Jindal and Company. His expertise in NPOs and CSR. He was a central statutory auditor for Union Bank of India and also served as a convener and member of tax study group of NIRC of ICAI. He is a regular contributor in financial journals, Economic Times, Financial Express. He is a vice chairman of Society of All India Institute of Management Studies and Research. His contribution to the professional system is he has presented various papers in conferences, seminars, debates on corporate and taxation matters with ICAI, NIRC, GB Plant Memorial Society, PhD Chamber of Commerce, Apex Institute of Management Studies, Institute of Learning and Management, G Foundation, SRF Foundation. Once again, I welcome Akhil Jindal ji.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think Pallavi, you can also introduce Sanjay Bhattacharya sir. His profile is in the group. Yeah.
Haji sir. I welcome Mr. Sanjay Bhattacharya. His educational qualification is BSc Honors in Chemistry, LLB, FCA. He is in practice since 1979 and his present occupation is partner in Sukumar Bhattacharya and Company. Once again, I welcome CA Sanjay Bhattacharya ji. Welcome, sir. Now, I would like to hand over the seminar to our learned speakers to go ahead with the seminar.
Good morning, all. It's been truly an honor for so many Sundays and today also being Gandhi Jayanti, being an holiday, and so many members have joined. Respected More ji, respected senior professional Sanjay ji, Pallavi, and all the allied members and the respected members, and everyone has joined and taking out their time. And especially now, Calcutta looks like family to me now. Every Sunday because of More ji. So I'm really remembering my days when I used to come to Calcutta and enjoy those mishti dahi and rasgulla and so many things. Now seeing everyone's faces really makes me remember those things. And definitely being all members, we are being connected with the charitable society interest doing this honorable work. And especially West Bengal, already known for Mother Teresa and Rabindranath Tagore. It is an honor to be part of this group and able to share some of the things which we have learned as a professional brother. So coming today to the topics we discuss, we will like to discuss some of the issues with regard to the audit report in Form 10B, because there are certain, while filing nowadays, we have started filing the Form 10B and 10BB, and there are some issues which keeps on cropping up every day, and especially with regard to the incidental business, with regard to what is application of income, what is charitable purpose, what is the general purpose utility, whether we have to maintain separate books of account, whether if we are making profit that will become taxable, what is corpus fund, what is the books of account we have to maintain. And very wisely, sir, our senior sir Sanjay ji sir have agreed to take on 17AA with regard to the books of account, which is a very Herculean task, because there has been a long list of books of account which have been added by the income tax authority, and part of the audit report is certifying that those proper books of account are being maintained by the charitable entity. So itself, first we have to have knowledge of those books of account, what are those to be maintained, and then we have to verify them, and then only we'll be able to comment whether yes or no, and whether we have to add some qualification. So initially, I think we can start with the Form 10B, and the clauses which are very important are with regard to the clause number 31 with regard to the application of income. What constitutes application? As yesterday we had discussed practically everything. They made the auditor with a mukut which is full of thorns. So, and everything we have to certify, starting from the address, starting from the books of account, starting with so much analysis and so much analytical as per the income tax law, which is again filled up with so many judgments and with various different judgments. And every year there are different Supreme Court judgments, High Court judgment overruling the previous judgment. We have seen in the Ahmedabad Authority and the another educational judgment which overruled the solely purpose of education by ruled by in the last year 2022. So every year, to understand all these laws, it has become very complex. Understanding the charitable trust is even more complex than the company law nowadays. I think whosoever is practicing it and being also attached sometimes as an honorary, it gives us more fiduciary responsibility to understand it and explain that. Now coming to the clause number 31 of Form 10B. 31, it says with regard to the application of income excluding application not eligible and reported under serial number 37. So everything revolves around the application of income. What all expenses, what all amount we are spending out of the trust kitty will be allowed as application, and whether they will be allowed, not allowed as application. And from this financial year 22-23, it becomes very important that all my learned members should first go through the main memorandum of the object or the trust main object, because everything goes around that. We will have to, very first thing we will have to examine is whether all the expenditure, every activity which the trust is carrying on, whether it is as per the object defined under their constitution, whether it is memorandum of association, whether it is a trust deed, whether it is a company. So we will have to examine, we should bifurcate, or we should separately put all activity which been carried out by the charitable entity and see what are the main objects, which are the activity which are covered under the constitution, which are not covered under the constitution. Because as per the amendment under the income tax law, if any activity or any expenditure which we are making is not as per the objectives of the charitable entity, those expenditure, those amounts spent, those capital asset purchase will not be allowed as application. So this is the first and foremost we should go through again and again and understand the main objects of the charitable entities, and whether there has been any amendment which the charitable institution has undergone, and whether those amendment has also been filed or approval has been taken from the income tax authorities. So it becomes very important. This is my first most important issue, that before starting the audit, at the start of the audit, we should take that memorandum and we should understand what are the main object and the objective for which that charitable entity has been established, and whether any activity which is not in par with whatever the activities it has been established, because over the years always there is sometimes so many activities get attached to the charitable trust institution, and always every 2 3 years or 4 years there is a change in the governing body. Sometimes some activities are not in line with the main objectives.
বলছি যে এই যে
Apart,
এখানটা মিউট করা আছে মানে তো আর
so
কোনো আওয়াজ
we'll have to
আকাঙ্ক্ষার আওয়াজ
examine
শুনতে
that.
পাচ্ছি না।
Yeah, examine that. Now coming to clause number 31, Roman I, that total amount applied for charitable or religious purposes in India during the previous year. So the column says, the first Roman I says that total amount, you have to mention the total amount, and then it says electronic, which means it has been paid through either check or either through ECS or the RTGS, and then they have added a column which is said other than electronic. So sometimes we have made some purchases, but then those things have been distributed to various persons, like food to poor. Sometimes books have been purchased, but it is being distributed to the various students. So maybe those amount will be mentioned, because that is the application we are making other than electronic. Though we have made purchases as per the check payment made or RTGS, but those application are being made other than the electronic. That is the intention which I understand as with regard to the application of income, which will come under various electronic and other than electronic. Now coming to 31 Roman I and A, subpara A, it says contribution or donation to any other person during the previous year. So any contribution or any donation other than the corpus fund should be mentioned in this column. With the next financial year, this amount, if we are making to a trust, then it will be restricted to only 75%, 85%, but otherwise all other contribution or donation for this financial year which have to be mentioned in this column. Then it says object wise application other than application provided in column A, wherever there is a direct donation or direct contribution, but other than that any application or any expenditure we are making directly. Then it states the various clauses as per section 215. One is the religious, the next is the relief of poor, the third is the education, the fourth is the medical relief, fifth is the yoga, sixth is the preservation of environment, seventh is the preservation of monuments, and eighth is the advancement of any other object of general public utility, and nine is application which cannot be specifically categorized under 1 to 8, and then you have a total. Now we have so many other expenditure which are in the nature of administrative. We have so many expenditure apart from the direct expenses which can be linked to the relief or poor education. There is salary of employees, there is conveyance, there are other administrative or overhead expenses. Whether we should mention them in the same column in the Roman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, 7, or should we mention them application which cannot be specifically categorized under 1 to 8? In my opinion, any expenditure which can be directly linked to the activity, which may be relief of poor or maybe education or medical relief, all expenditure which is directly linked to those main expenditure. Suppose like education, we are taking salary to the teacher, we are making salaries to the other staff, we are making expenditure of electricity, we are making expenditure of printing and stationery, we are making expenditure for books. There can be at least 50 heads of account, but if those expenditure is directly for the purpose of education, in my opinion those expenditures should be mentioned under education only. Only wherever any expenditure which we can directly link to education, but those society or educational institution have to make as a statutory expenditure or like audit fee or any other statutory expenses, or any other expenses which cannot be directly linked should be mentioned in the column number 9, application which cannot be specifically categorized under Roman 1 to 8. This is my opinion with regard to the various expenditures which has to be bifurcated under various heads of religious, relief for poor, education, medical relief, yoga, because the first 6 or 7, the 7 main limbs are not covered by the proviso, where you are talking about with regard to the Ahmedabad judgment also, that any other object of general public utility, you will have to see whether the incidental business or incidental income does not exceed 20% of the gross receipts, and if it exceed, then the charitable entity loses its exemption for that year. But with regard to the relief for poor, education, medical relief, and yoga, that provision is not applicable. There can be certain incidental activity, whereas a school can carry on sale of uniform or sale of books at a particular cost only, with a very nominal covering their administrative expenses. I will not say profit, because sometimes they will have to make a person or an assistant to sit and distribute those books of account. They will have to provide a room, they will have to provide electricity. So if that kind of incidental activity is carried out by an education institution, of a hospital is dispensing medicine, or hospital is carrying on some activity which is necessary for the purpose of relief, medical relief to the patient, then those activity will also be covered under that clause only, and it will not be you not have to maintain separate books of account. They will be part of those charitable and charitable purpose only. So with regard to 31.1, we covered the total amount applied and the application of income. And then the Roman 2, it is detail of application out of 1A and 1B, resulting in payment in excess of 50 lakhs during the previous year to any person. Here, the income tax authorities want that if there is any payment which is in excess of 50 lakh made during the year to any person, whether it means one payment, single payment of 50 lakh, whether it means payment in aggregate to a single person or more than 50 lakh. In my opinion, if for the full financial year any person has been paid or any entity has been paid more than 50 lakh, then those expenditure or those application we will have to mention here in the column Roman 2 under 31 clause. Now coming to Roman 3, amount which was not actually paid during the previous year. So this was the amendment which had been brought in earlier. All the application, even because all the charitable trusts and entities, and with the Supreme Court earlier.
Sir, can I ask question?
Yes, we will just complete this 31, and then we can do the queries and the answer on this.
Just okay.
Yeah, that I think that will be better. So
Okay.
So point it out. So on 31.3, the amount which was not actually paid during the previous year, there has been a Supreme Court judgment with regard to the depreciation and various other judgment that the profit and expenditure, profit of the or the loss of the charitable entity should be taken out as per the books of account as the normal entities or business entities are done. That is why this change has been brought in by the income tax authority, that if any expenditure or any application which is accrued but which has not been paid, just like let's say if there is a salary which has not been paid for March and which will be paid in April, so those salaries to the employees of the teachers will not be allowed in this financial year, but it will be allowed in the next financial year when it will be actually paid. So application will only be all amount which have been spent during the year. So maybe we will, all the charitable entities earlier has shifted from earlier, you see, I think maybe 20-25 years ago, all the entities were maintaining their books of account on a cash basis system. Then slowly the various court judgments came, and with the new 26As, accrual of income and the accrual of FDR interest and other income being reflected in 26As, most of the charitable entities have now start maintaining the accrual system of accounting as per our institute guidance also, and as per the accounting rules and regulation also. But now for the computation of income, for the income tax purposes, any amount which has accrued but has actually not gone out of our pocket or have not gone out from the cash or bank account will not be allowed as application. Then the Roman 4, amount actually paid during the previous year which accrued during any earlier previous year but not claimed as application of income in earlier previous year. So this is directly linked with Roman 3. So all those expenses which will not be allowed in a particular financial year, but if these have been paid in the next financial year, so those expenses will be allowed in the next financial year as application. So total amount, then the Roman 5 says total amount to be allowed as application 31(1)(c) minus 31(3) plus 31(4). Then they want bifurcation of application in 31(5) in revenue or capital. As we all understand, in charitable entities, practically for application purposes, there is no bifurcation. Even if we are applying any amount towards acquiring of a capital asset, acquiring of any fixed assets, they are also allowed as application. So if they are allowed as application, here they want us separately to mention that how much is the expenditure of revenue nature and how much of the expenditure of the capital nature. So revenue means, suppose you are paying salary, administrative expenses, electricity expenses, and any direct education expenses, books and periodical. And capital expenditure will be, to my mind, will be like acquisition of fixed assets or construction of a building or a construction of any of acquisition of any capital asset during the course of application. Then Roman 7, amount invested or deposited back in corpus which was applied during any preceding previous year and not claimed as application during the previous year. So this is also the amendment they have brought in, that if any amount which we have applied during any previous year and not claimed as application, and now we are putting it back into the corpus, then also will be allowed as application, because any amount you applied from a corpus earlier, 2 years back, earlier, if any amount was applied, there was no bifurcation of corpus or general fund. Any corpus fund which we used to get or corpus donation under section 11D used to be exempt under 11(1)D. Any general fund or general donation or any other income used to be there, but all those funds were segregated or they were aggregated in one bank account. You could have 1 or 2 bank accounts. We were not required to keep separate corpus fund and general fund into separate bank account. But with amendment from 1st April 21, the income tax authority wants corpus fund should be separately maintained and there should be a proper cash flow, as you will see in the rule 17AA also. We'll have to maintain separately, distinguish how much corpus fund we are having and where it is being kept in our whether assets, fixed assets, or in mode of investment or fixed deposit or some bonds, and where is the general fund which is there in the books or any restricted fund is maintained. So basically we will have to now, as a profession,
अरे मैं confused.
we will have to maintain practically cash flow for both of them. Maybe we will have to maintain separate receipt and payment account for corpus fund and separate receipt and payment account for general fund, to make it easier for the management and for the income tax authority to understand, and that will also be one of the statement we have to maintain as part of the books of account. Then we come to the next, Roman 8, repayment of loan or borrowing during the previous year which was earlier applied and not claimed as application during the previous year, during that previous year. So up to that, any loan or borrowing during the previous year which is earlier applied and not claimed as application will also be allowed as application. So now we can take up queries with regard to 31, Roman 1, 2 and 3, or up to 8, any queries are there, then we can discuss amount to be disallowed from application. Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a query.
Yes, sir.
Sir, actually, my client is running an educational college, and if he gives like chanda, like whose amount is very less, like donation kind of, whether I have to disclose it also in 1A, 31(1)(a?
नहीं, what I am able to understand कि आप एक कॉलेज, एक क्लाइंट आपका कॉलेज रन कर रहा है और उस कॉलेज में जो एजुकेशनल एक्सपेंसेस, वो कॉलेज के सारे एजुकेशनल एक्सपेंसेस कर रहे हैं, पर साथ साथ उन्होंने किसी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन को डोनेशन भी दी है, यही कहना चाह रहे हैं आप?
Sir, actually एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट नहीं है, बेसिकली लाइक रिलीजियस, नॉर्मली चंदा हम दे देते हैं लाइक दैट।
नहीं, राइट नाउ हु इज योर एसएससी, मतलब करंटली जो भी एंटिटी की आप बात कर रहे हैं वो थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन करें सो दैट पीपल
एजुकेशनल चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट।
हाँ, एक एजुकेशनल चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट है, और जो जिसने डोनेशन कलेक्ट करी है या फीस कलेक्ट करी,
That is not a kind of trust. This is
Hmm.
kind of general donations, like anyone coming, religious trust is coming, give us the donation, like we give 10,000, 15,000, anonymous donation kind of.
नहीं, receiving or you're paying?
Paying.
So that education institution is paying donation to various religious trusts.
Just kind of 1 or 2 lakh in all year. Whether I have to disclose it also in 1A?
Any contribution, see, any amount you are applying. See, when you are supposed to say that application, either you will not claim it as application. You choose to say that I am not going to claim it as application, and maybe you have made expenditure more than your receipt. Either you are choosing to say that is not my application. There has been some violation or some expenditure which is not as per the main object of the trust. This is what I understand from you. And if you don't want to claim it as application, that is okay with the income tax authorities. But if it is within the purpose and the object, because whatever your education institution, they will have to do that donation or any contribution for educational activity only. They cannot do any expenditure or any activity which is not line in with their main objects. They cannot give any contribution to a medical institution. Then again, it will not be allowed as application. So first and foremost, that's why I started with that only, that now with the amendment, it becomes very important we see the main object of the constitution of that entity. And if it is not in line with those activities, then as an auditor, we will have to mention in our report. There are so many other
sir, this
clauses.
is a part and parcel of any kind of institution give that chanda to like 10, 15,000, 20,000. So what
any donation they are going to make, it may be for any trust. What I understand is any trust which is not registered with the income tax authorities, or any trust which is maybe some religious activity, or sometimes they come during Durga Puja, like they for collect some money, and then you offer some money as part of the donation. So we will have to see whether if it doesn't come within our objects, then it will be not be claimed as application. But I do not claim it as application.
Sir, I've got
one last
with respect to 31(1), myself, Rayat Bubna. Sir, like what you said, that the application, say I've made an application for say 10,000 rupees, and out of that 3,000 I've incurred in cash and 7,000 I've incurred in bank. So I think that 3,000 will be coming in the column other than banking channels.
Yeah, that is there also. But sometimes there is donation made through kind also. Suppose you are distributing books. You purchase the books. A books is your stock in hand. Purchase your
So the
books.
moment just for my understanding, the moment I purchase the book, it has come into the application.
That has come into application, but that is
So,
your
and
part.
if I paid that payment by check, then how that will come in non-banking thing? This time not able to.
In my understanding, definitely once you purchase a books, but they
I
are
paid
lying
it by
with you.
check.
Yeah. So this is again a gray area. Purchase of books or purchase of anything, but I have not distributed. Sometimes it is only college. For a college,
So what?
yeah.
So what?
It may be
But
college, then it
will come in
becomes part of your application. Yes.
Yes, and it will come under the banking thing. It will not come in the other.
Yes, definitely that will come under the direct electronic only. But sometimes some trusts are making kind contributions. They sometimes they purchase something and then they make kind contribution.
How, sir, anything which has to be materialistic, that cannot be in kind, whether I'm distributing blanket or I'm distributing food or anything, unless I give some services.
You have a point, but this is my opinion that
right,
we have
I understand.
So we will discuss it in detail.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other query, sir?
सर मेरी एक क्वेरी है सर सर जैसे ईयर पे सैलरी पेबल होगी या प्रोविडेंट फंड पेबल होगा या ईएसआई पेबल होगा इन केस एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस, तो वो भी 1/3 में उसको माइनस करना होगा सर।
हाँ, जितने भी एक्सपेंसेस जो एक्चुअली पेड नहीं है, जो अब अमेंडमेंट लॉ के अंदर आ गया है, तो वो सारे जो एक्चुअली पेड मींस कि अगर आपने 31st तक पे नहीं करा है तो वो आपको इस फाइनेंशियल ईयर में अलाउ नहीं होंगे, अगले साल में अलाउ होंगे।
तो जो सर जो पिछले साल की ओपनिंग खड़े हैं जो हमने मतलब लास्ट ईयर की सैलरी इस साल में आके पे की है जी,
हाँ, वो इस साल अलाउ हो जाएगी,
वो फोर्थ पॉइंट में लेके जाएंगे उसको सर।
वो अलाउ हो जाएगा। करेक्ट करेक्ट।
राइट सर, थैंक यू।
बिकॉज ओरिजिनली जब इनकम टैक्स लॉ के अंदर सेक्शन 11, 12, 13 आया था, उनकी इंटेंशन एप्लीकेशन और एक्चुअली पेड की थी, पर जब कोर्ट के वेरियस जजमेंट्स आना चालू हो गए और बड़े लर्नेड एडवोकेट्स ने कहा, आर्ग्यू कि नहीं जी हमारे को तो ट्रस्ट और एंटिटीज को तो हमें एक्रूअल बेसिस ऑफ अकाउंटिंग भी और एक्सपेंसेस हमारे अलाउ होने चाहिए, तो कोर्ट ने ये रूल करा इन देयर विजडम। अब फिर डायरेक्ट टैक्स कोड एक आया था जो फॉल कर गया, डायरेक्ट कोड के अंदर भी उन्होंने ये अलाउ करा था कि कैश सिस्टम ऑफ अकाउंटिंग ही चैरिटेबल एंटिटीज को अलाउ होगा, बट वो भी फिर वो पास नहीं हो पाया। तो अब जाके इतने सालों बाद ये अमेंडमेंट आई है कि दोबारा से एप्लीकेशन वो भी जो एक्चुअली पेड होगी वही अलाउ।
तो सर जो ओपनिंग हमारा अनपेड था जो हमने करंट ईयर में पे किया, तो उसकी एप्लीकेशन हमने लास्ट ईयर ले ली हुई है, तो इस बार दोबारा लेंगे सर उसको?
नहीं नहीं, जो हमने एक्सपेंसेस नहीं, जिसको आप एक बार एक्सपेंसेस आप क्लेम कर चुके हैं उसको दोबारा तो नहीं अलाउ कर पाए।
नहीं वही ना सर, जैसे
हाँ, हाँ,
1/4/22 का जो ओपनिंग सैलरी पेबल था, तो वो तो हमने ये 21/22 प्रीवियस ईयर में उसका एप्लीकेशन ले लिया जी,
उसको
तो
दोबारा आप
अभी
नहीं कर पाएंगे, उसको दोबारा नहीं
जी,
कर पाएंगे।
मतलब फिर इस साल का जो ओपनिंग्स आउटस्टैंडिंग थे वो उसको इग्नोर करना पड़ेगा और जो क्लोजिंग आउटस्टैंडिंग है उसको माइनस करना पड़ेगा।
करेक्ट करेक्ट। और ओपनिंग जो आपके ऑलरेडी ओपनिंग जो है, जिनको ऑलरेडी आप लास्ट ईयर में क्लेम कर चुके हैं अगर, तो वो इस बार अलाउ नहीं होंगे।
वो पिछले साल तक तो सभी कर ही रहे थे ना सर, जो
हाँ, पिछले साल एज पर लॉ, करेक्ट, एज
जी।
पर लॉ जो अलाउड हो गए हैं। ये सिमिलरली इसमें भी एक थोड़ा शायद क्लैरिफिकेशन आएगा, लाइक डेप्रिसिएशन, लोग जो डेप्रिसिएशन फिक्स एसेट्स पे भी क्लेम करते रहे और असेट्स को एप्लीकेशन भी क्लेम करते रहे, बट ये
जी।
तो बिकॉज एज मेंबर्स और हम काफी जगह एज पर जो और एंटिटीज में हम देखते हैं, तो एप्लीकेशन एक एक्सपेंडिचर को एक बार ही मिलेगा। ये
जी
कोर्ट ने
सर।
डेप्रिसिएशन के केस में कहा था कि डबल डिडक्शन अलाउ नहीं होगी फॉर सेम अमाउंट स्पेंड, यू कैन नॉट क्लेम इट एज 2x, कि आपने एक साल लास्ट ईयर भी क्लेम कर लिया और करंट भी क्लेम।
नो डेप्रिसिएशन तो मोस्टली कंपटीशन में ऐड बैक ही कर लेते थे, क्योंकि उसका हमने फिक्स एसेट का जब एप्लीकेशन किया उसको 100% क्लेम कर लिया हुआ, तो डेप्रिसिएशन इज बेटर देन उसको ऐड बैक कर लेते हैं।
करेक्ट। पर सर काफी सालों तक जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट आ गया था, काफी लोग डबल डिडक्शन क्लेम कर रहे थे, डेप्रिसिएशन भी क्लेम कर रहे थे और एप्लीकेशन भी क्लेम कर रहे थे, तो 200% तक वो एनॉमली रही। उसके बाद फिर अमेंडमेंट आया लॉ के अंदर और उसको चेंज करा गया।
थैंक यू सर।
सर मेरा एक सवाल है, I have a one trust and I got a request from the another trust for the property created by the another trust. So my trust has given contribution to the other trust for the construction of the property. So whether it will be considered as a contribution to another trust or is an application by the trust who is giving the contribution to the other trust as application.
नहीं, you have already made only contribution only ना, you're not directly making that expenditure. आप डोनेशन ही देंगे, एक चेक काट के देंगे आप। Once you are going to give a check or you are going to give a donation and you will get a receipt, it will be contribution only or a donation only.
So I have to construct it. If suppose I received a request from the other trust, then if I spend for that particular project out of my fund, I record the expenditures, then it will be treated as application.
If you are making, suppose a school says, sir, we want a medical room for our students and kindly you construct it, and if your trust can construct that medical room and they allow you rights to construct that medical room or any facility or a library on their premises, if they allow that, and then your trust makes that building with your own funds and construct that building, that particular library building or a medical room, then that may be taken as application directly.
Okay.
But otherwise, if you're giving any contribution or a donation to that school or that educational entity, it will be taken as donation or contribution only. They may spend it on constructing of a particular medical room or a library or a children room. That is a separate issue. But for you, it will be only donation or contribution. And again, you will be asking for a receipt definitely. as a receipt, whether it will be a corpus fund or a general fund. For your
Got
own accounting purposes, you will be asking for a receipt. And if there is an expenditure directly made by you, then you will have the bills in your name. If you are constructing a medical room or you are constructing a library room, then you will have bill in your name. The construction of that building or the contractor will give you bill in your name.
Got it. Thank you.
Sir, एक मिनट. Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
सर क्या कमर्शियल एक्टिविटी भी कर सकते हैं इनको, मतलब चैरिटेबल पर्पस को पूरा करने के लिए?
सर ये ऑलरेडी जो क्लॉज है सेक्शन 215 के अंदर, जो फर्स्ट, सेकंड, थर्ड, फोर्थ, 5 जो लिम्स हैं, अगर कोई इंसिडेंटल एक्टिविटी है, एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन है या मेडिकल इंस्टीट्यूशन है, उनको अलाउ करा गया है कि कोई भी इंसिडेंटल एक्टिविटी अगर वो करते हैं तो एक तो वो पहली बात है वो प्रोविजो में कवर नहीं होते हैं, जहाँ पे जनरल पब्लिक यूटिलिटी में जो 20% की जो कट ऑफ आती है कि अगर आपकी रिसीट 20% से अगर ज्यादा है तो उसके अंदर आपको फिर एग्जेम्पशन उस साल की नहीं मिलेगी. बट फॉर द फर्स्ट, सेकंड, थर्ड, फोर्थ, फिफ्थ एंड सिक्स्थ लिम, if you are carrying on any activity like running of a uniform shop or running of a book shop or running of your auditorium and sometimes given on rental for some time for educational purposes, they are allowed. If part of the educational activity, they are allowed. And if they are given at a nominal cost, they should not be very high prices. Suppose you're buying books at 100 rupees and you're giving books at 1000 rupees, that is not allowed. If for a book you have purchased and you put some overhead expenses, maybe of assistant salary and some overheads of electricity expenses, those are allowed to be covered. So those incidental activity for attaining your main objects are allowed.
Sir, corpus का definition. What is the meaning of corpus in relation to trust?
Sir, corpus donations. You see, there used to be two kind of contribution.
May I ask a question?
Who has asked this? Mr. Deendayal?
Narayan sir.
Mr. Narayan?
दीनदयाल जी, one by one we can ask question. आप थोड़ा सा टाइम उनका आंसर करने दीजिए पहले उनको, फिर आप पूछ लीजिएगा क्वेश्चन.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll wait.
Yeah. Mr. Narayan.
Yes, sir.
This query has been raised by Mr. Narayanan. What is corpus fund?
Right.
Or
Right.
corpus donation?
Right. Corpus fund.
Corpus fund or corpus. So for charitable entities, since the income tax law came into with regard to charitable entities, there were two funds which could be accounted for in the books of account.
Right.
One was the corpus fund, another was general fund. As we understand, corpus fund used to be the capital fund, but the income tax authority in their wisdom said any donation or any contribution which comes to the entity where the intention of the donor, not donee, the recipient, not it is the donor who gives the charitable entity. If he says that these funds will be utilized towards the capital purposes or towards the corpus purposes of the entity, they were supposed to be the corpus donations and they were supposed to be accumulated or aggregated under corpus fund, and they were not taxable under section 11(1)(d) of the income tax law. So
but ultimately what
there. And for all other as we understand under the company law, just like all profit loss not account, general reserve, any profit we are making, any income we are making, any excess of income over expenditure, they used to go directly to the general fund. Then there also used to be on the credit side some other funds apart from corpus, general fund. There used to be some restricted fund. There are certain fund where the donor says you can only spend, like for government grant, they will say you will only have to spend this money for this particular purpose only, and you have to separately maintain the restricted fund account in books of account. So those fund used to be credited to a restricted fund account. And sometimes there are some scholarship fund where, like education institution, create a special fund like a scholarship fund. Out of they collect income, they collect fees from the students under scholarship head, and which can only be spent towards giving scholarship to a weaker section. So these are the various credit side. When you are doing audit of a charitable entities, you will see that there are various various credit side of funds, we had different name according to their utilization, according to the intention of the donor, according to what you receive. I think, hope I answered your query well. Thank
Sir,
you.
then whatever the general profit available with the balance sheet, without any specific direction, that can be treated as a general fund.
Yeah, they all have to be taken to general fund. Yes.
And what about the nucleus fund, whatever the given by the author at the initial stage?
That is corpus, always corpus. And
That-
the first initial in the trust deed, initial fund is always corpus.
Is it required to be shown separately in the balance sheet?
It is corpus fund, always corpus.
No,
That is the initial seed he puts in. The initial seed he puts in for the plant. Any corpus is the initial seed. Corpus fund is to for running day to day. Corpus fund normally, as we understand, also used to be for running any charitable activity. You need some fund in your pocket on which you can earn income and then run the charitable activities. So normally that was the parlance. Either corpus fund used to be
11 साल 12 साल पुराना प्रैक्टिस हो गया तो हो गया करने का जरूरत देखिए
next query, sir, Mr. Deendayal.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
मेरा query ये है, ये trust who is running a marriage hall without profit motive. So the trust is not doing any other activity. Whether this activity of marriage hall can be termed as relief of the poor or it will be GPU activity.
Again, it becomes an issue which have to be very subjective. Like even for the BCCI, Board of Cricket Control of India, there have been so many plus and minuses and judgments which have been going through, because once they were given a 12A registration, they start giving franchises and various collecting funds. Then they were denied, their registration was withdrawn. Then again they went to the income tax, the courts, and they said no, for some particular things this can be allowed, because ultimately the amount is being spent for cricket only. So you see, it is a very subjective matter. To me, deciding that running of a marriage hall, how much money they are charging, whether they are actually allowing the poor person with low income, with low income group, are they allowing them to have the marriage hall without any cost or with a nominal cost? So I'm saying, if it is become of a general public utility, you see all even the statutory corporations, so many boards, with the recent judgment also, Ahmedabad utility also, so many any object of general public utility is also allowed as a charitable purpose under section 215. There is no debar. But again, it becomes a kindly a subjective matter. So when you are getting assessed, when they are granting you registration, if all those relief to poor, if it is covered under those activity, and you're not making substantial profit, then I believe it should be allowed as general public utility.
If the trust is making, say, collecting only 5 lakhs and spending 5 lakhs, so how it will meet the criteria of 20%? If it is considered GPU, the total receipt is from marriage rent and that is totally spent, no profit. But 20% criteria it will not meet because it has no other income, no other activity.
The 20% when
unnecessary tax on the GPU.
No, sir. Important is whether the running of marriage hall, marriage hall will be taken under the first limb of relief to the poor, or
yes, that's my question.
So now I've understood your question. Now it takes time. It takes time for me to understand. Also, sometimes there are so many complex issue. So your query was that whether running of marriage hall will be taken as relief to the poor, or whether it will be covered under other general public utility.
GPU.
To my mind, with my opinion, my mind, definitely it will be covered under other general public utility and not relief to the poor directly. With my experience of assessment and this thing, definitely not be covered under relief to the poor.
General public utility. It will be very harsh for this trust. Then it will be very difficult for the trust to gain the exemption. It cannot meet the 20% criteria.
You see, now once you are covered under general public utility, you are covered under charitable activity. This is a charitable activity. Now we will have to understand whether running of business hall is a business or whether it is not a business. Whether you are giving just on a very nominal amount, or whether marriage hall is again becomes a business activity.
it is given on a very nominal amount. Sometimes
Whether
loss is also there.
no, that is there. Whether it is GST is applicable, whether what kind of charges you are making. So I'm very start. I'm saying it is a very subjective matter. So we should not discuss any subjective matter because it becomes of the matter of fact, where a assessing officer will have to decide on the various facts. But this I can say that with my experience in the assessment that this will be definitely under general public utility and not relief to the poor. Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
हर्षमुख दोषी जी का भी
Yes, sir.
क्वेश्चन है.
Yeah,
हाँ जी.
Pallavi, can you take a one by one and then I can answer it? That will be better. Then I can take go
Yes,
to
sir.
the form
Yes
10.
sir. Yes sir. हर्षमुख जोशी
Yes,
जी
sir.
आप अपना पूछिए.
My issue is, sir, what is the legal importance for bifurcation of figure of electronic and other than electronic?
So this is what they want, more details. Whether like for in tax audit report 44 AB, they want how much for GST has been paid, non-GST paid, like loan, whether it is electronic or non-electronic. So similarly, they wanted maybe initially they wanted whether those trusts and societies, how much payment is being made through cash and how much payment is being made through non-cash and non-in kind. So the intention will only the income tax authorities or the board will know who have formulated it.
But trusts are not maintaining such records, sir.
But even if they have to maintain now.
Sir, only now related second question, sir.
Because they have made such, if you have gone through 17 AA, the books of account they have to maintain, it is even equivalent to the company law, as per company law.
So that electronic and other than electronic, we have to bifurcate in the accounts.
Yes. Every record has to be maintained. Rule 17 AA, if you see, it is such a detailed kind of records you have to maintain, not for 1 year. You will have to do it for the 10 years. And one have to discuss whether this is now from financial year 2023. Because I believe, because Rule 17 AA comes now in the picture from October 2022. So we have to do it for financial year 2023. Whether do they require it for earlier years also? Their intention appears to be the corpus fund, the kind of details they want. It appears to be if they want details for earlier years also. And specifically, we have to maintain records for 10 years, not for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Straight away. For the other law, it is not even specified in the income tax law. But for trust, they mentioned that it has to be kept for 10 years.
Yes, sir. Sir, my second question, simple, small question. When our trust is giving scholarship to students, whether it will be covered in the education expenses or whether it will be considered a donation to other person?
No, it will be covered educational expenses. If you are taking a proof, you see what depends is if when you give a donation, it is a voluntary donation. You don't get anything in return. You don't ask for any proof. You give person A, this is the amount. But when you are giving scholarship for education, you ask him a receipt, whether actually he has spent that money or education, or he has just pocketed that money. So any contribution, to my understanding, any donation and contribution, you only put a receipt or you take a letter from him that I want so much of donation. But for scholarship, for any kind of educational expenses, you definitely, the income tax authorities also, with my experience, they ask for various proof. Once you are giving a scholarship, then the student must have spent that money on either books, on either educational fees, he must have paid to his school or any other educational expenses. And for those records, you will have to maintain as part of your supportings that this is the scholarship expenses. So that is there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
सर दयाशरण शेट्टी जी का क्वेश्चन है. दयाशरण जी आप अनम्यूट करके पूछ सकते हैं.
Sir, in case of a charitable trust which is rendering general public utility services, the aggregate receipts of which has exceeded 20%. I just want to highlight on how the computation is to be made. Like there are both charitable as well as business activity. I mean business income. In that case, how the computation, while doing while filing the return of income.
Come again, I couldn't get you. There is a charitable entity,
yes,
which is carrying on under the first 6 limbs or under the GPU, general public utility.
I'll say it is a 6th limb, general public.
General public utility.
Like say marriage hall, and they are also doing charity work.
No, but meaning charity work. But if they're registered under general public utility, and if they're carrying on any business or any activity, and if it exceeds 20%, then the whole exemption will be lost. For this year, there will be no exemption.
Okay. No, my point is, how do you treat the application? There will be some charitable element also. I mean, application towards charity, administrative expenses. In case of a business entity, donations is added back. In our case, since it is considered like it is like a business entity now.
No, there'll be two books of account. One books of account is for a charitable entity, for charitable work you are doing. There is maybe a society which is doing a entity, and then there will be separate books of account if you are conducting business.
Okay.
And if your receipts, I'm talking, it is not income. If your receipts exceed 20%, then automatically, as per income tax law, you are not allowed exemption for the full year.
Okay.
It becomes taxable like that.
No,
but if it is less than 20%, let's say total receipts from the business entity is less than 20%. Then you are saying how the computation will be made.
Yeah.
Then your whole income will be exempt.
Okay.
Because if it is less than 20%,
what I'm saying is when the business element income receives is more than 20%,
then your whole income is taxable.
Yeah, whole income of what is it? Donations, charitable, voluntary contribution.
Everything becomes taxable. You see, because it is the limit of 20% is crossed.
Correct.
So now your gross receipt becomes receipts income.
Correct.
Now
they have been
assessed under section 1310, sir. He loses the charitable institution right under 11. It will be assessed under section 1310.
Yes, and so ultimately, then whatever you see, that is a subjective matter whether AO allows your various other expenses.
That is a point. That is a question I wanted.
So that is again become very subjective as each assessing officer. Sometimes they allow administrative expenses. Sometimes they allow even the contribution also, and sometimes they tax they don't allow anything, and they put tax on the maximum marginal rate on the whole receipt.
Correct.
So there are different ways we have seen the various assessments.
That is a very confusing thing. I just wanted to get it clarified.
That is something with the income tax authority are themselves not clear, and various we have seen hundreds of judgment differently. So it is easier for us to go to appeal and get them the relief.
Okay. And the second point, what about religious trust having business income? Does this condition apply, that 20% thing cap? Now we have been talking about charitable trusts.
Yes.
Now let us say it is a wholly religious trust, recognized as a religious trust.
And recognized full religious and doesn't have a 80G and everything.
Nothing, no 80G. But they have got business activities. I say which is more than 20%.
But religious trusts are not allowed. You see, only in this relief to poor or education, they are allowed to carry on this incidental business activity. But religious trusts again are not allowed to carry on any business activity.
Say they give their mandap and all those things they charge exorbitant rentals. So the Christian institutions, they have got massive halls, air conditioned and all. They give it for marriage, the affluent class of the society.
So practically, this will not become a charitable object. You see, if you're charging,
it is a religious. But my point is whether that restriction, the 20% will hold good for even religious trust.
You see, religious, to my thinking, religious trusts are not allowed to even carry on business activity. So if any activity they are doing, maybe they can lose their exemption with this.
No, they are doing business activity for rendering religious activity. For application of funds towards religious activities.
Honey, that is there, but any business activity is not allowed per se for only. It has to be incidental. You see, basically, it is not incidental also.
Okay, yeah, correct.
So if it comes to light of the day, and then if it is really somebody examines it fully,
that's what there are many institutions. I am from Mangalore. Not Bangalore, Mangi. There are so many institutions which have got massive marriage halls.
Yes, sir. We know that. So only those institutions which come under proper scrutiny, then they see they burn from the income tax authority.
Okay.
So and now with the new audit report, the income tax authority will be getting a lot of fireworks for them. Everything being mentioned in the report. So now I think it will be much more open to them. Earlier, a 3-page report, there was no justification actually, and with various different kind of accounting being followed by all the charitable entities, because there being no standard no one regulator like SEBI or no one authority who is doing registration. So slowly now the income tax department is trying to regulate them. Let's see. So we'll have to see more prudent, because definitely it is a more fiduciary capacity. You see, I understand all charitable society trust. As an auditor, we are into a fiduciary capacity. We have to take a lot of precaution. It is very fragile. The exemption is very fragile. A small violation, you will lose the exemption.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Lastly, sir, this non-electronic, it includes cash also, no? Just for my.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
सर पवन अग्रवाल जी का क्वेश्चन है। पवन अग्रवाल जी आप पूछ सकते हैं अपना क्वेश्चन।
गुड आफ्टरनून सर। मेरा 2 क्वेश्चन है। एक तो आपने जो कहा कि कंपनी लोग का बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट इसमें एप्लीकेबल हो गया है, तो ऐसे
हाँ सॉरी सर, मैं कह रहा हूँ जैसे कंपनी लॉ में डिटेल बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट हैं, ऐसे ही रूल 17AA के अंदर स्पेसिफिक रूल्स मेंशन कर दिए गए हैं। जैसे एक लिस्ट ऑफ बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट है, वो 17AA के अंदर है, तो काफी बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट है, वो हमें एज ए चैरिटेबल एंटिटी मेंटेन करना पड़ता।
ओके, अच्छा हुआ कि क्लियर कर दिया, क्योंकि मेरे दिमाग में ऑडिटर घूम गया था।
नहीं, that sometime there could be a slip of tongue. What I was meant to said was that similarly, like for company law, you have to maintain detailed books of account and is specified in company law. अब चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट के लिए भी वही कर दिया गया है।
थैंक यू सर। कल और एक क्वेश्चन है सर, मैं A2 में 2 एग्जाम्पल देना चाहता हूँ जो बीच में डिस्कशन हो रहा था। सपोज मेरा एसएससी एजुकेशन ट्रस्ट है एंड मैंने किसी दुकान एक शॉपकीपर को एक पैसा दे दिया इन चेक में, और उसको बोलता हूँ कि गिव द बुक्स अकाउंट टू दिस 10 पीपल, 10 स्टूडेंट, देन इट विल बी, आई विल से इट इज माय एक्सपेंडिचर इन चेक। ओके, और अगर मैं वही बुक्स में खरीद के लेकर आता हूँ और मेरे स्टूडेंट को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करता हूँ, तो कहने से इट इज इन काइंड्स, या दोनों में डिफरेंस रहेगा या एक माना जाएगा?
नहीं, थोड़ा सा ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग जब असेसमेंट के टाइम में इनकम टैक्स अथॉरिटीज के काफी डिस्कस होता था कि काफी ट्रस्ट इन काइंड, समटाइम्स यू सी दे आल्सो रिसीव डोनेशंस और सर्टेन थिंग्स इन काइंड। कभी काफी समटाइम्स सम पीपल गो एंड से कि हम ये बुक्स लेकर आए हैं और बुक्स आप अपने कॉलेज में ले लीजिए, बट बिकॉज एज पर लॉ नाउ you have to make a receipt, which is again, because if you receive books for a particular amount, if you receive some anything, any food for distribution, as per the current law, all the charitable entities have to issue a receipt. ये receipt in kind हमें कराएं, और फिर आप उसको दोबारा से आप किसी को kind में distribute करते हैं। तो ये I think this is the way they want, income tax authorities wanted, कि जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कितना है जो एक्चुअली बुक से जा रहा है और नॉन बुक से हमारा कितना पेमेंट जा रहा है, जो डिस्कशन इनकम टैक्स में था। सो ये मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग थी। पर
तो उसका वैल्यूएशन कैसे किया जाएगा? सपोज मैंने कोई काइंड्स में लाकर देता है, तो मैं उसका वैल्यूएशन कैसे करूंगा?
उसका फेयर मार्केट ही बुक से बोलते हैं, फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू जो है वो लिया जाता है, जो अभी तक अंडरस्टैंडिंग इनकम टैक्स के अंदर। तो उसका
कोई ऐसा रूल कि 50% डिस्काउंट या हाफ रेट का वैसे नहीं कर सकते हैं।
देयर इज नो करंट कोई वैल्यूएशन रूल्स आए नहीं है 11 UA की तरह जो इनकम टैक्स लॉ के अंदर, but maybe soon we'll get some indication or some judgment will come specifying them.
और ऐसे सर एप्लीकेशन में भी सपोज मैंने किसी शॉपकीपर को बोलता हूँ कि आप कि मैं 10 स्टूडेंट का नाम दे दिया, या तो मैं 10 स्टूडेंट का अकाउंट नंबर दे देता हूँ कि भाई आप उनके बुक्स खरीदने के लिए उनको पेमेंट करता हूँ, या फिर वैसे तो उसमें भी सेम आएगा या उसमें भी उनको अलग स्टैंड देना पड़ेगा एप्लीकेशन?
अगर आपका डायरेक्टली, अगर अभी इनिशियली ये कि अगर डायरेक्ट चेक जा रहा है आपका और चेक से आप पेमेंट कर रहे हैं, तो इसको इलेक्ट्रॉनिक में कवर कर सकते हैं, और कोई अगर काइंड में आ रहा है और काइंड में जा रहा है तो उसको नॉन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक में हम कवर करेंगे। ठीक है,
ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू पवन जी।
सर एस चावला जी का क्वेश्चन है। एस चावला जी आप अनम्यूट करके पूछ सकते हैं।
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है, जैसे मैंने एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन में 1 करोड़ का एसेट्स बनाना था जी, तो उसके लिए मैंने बैंक से लोन ले लिया। तो जब एसेट्स पुट टू यूज हो गया तो मैंने उसकी एप्लीकेशन ले ली सर। अब उस जो लोन लिया था उसका मैं इंस्टॉलमेंट पे करूं सर, तो उसकी एप्लीकेशन प्रिंसिपल प्लस इंटरेस्ट आएगी या खाली इंटरेस्ट आएगी सर?
नहीं, जब लोन लिया था आपने तभी आपने पूरा अमाउंट जब अप्लाई करा तो क्लेम कर लिया उसका?
हाँ, एसेट्स क्लेम कर लिया सर, एसेट्स पूरा का पूरा क्लेम कर लिया जितने का एसेट्स बना था।
दोबारा अब जब लोन रिपे करेंगे अब तो अलाउ नहीं होगा आपको?
नहीं, इंटरेस्ट को अलाउ होगा एस एप्लीकेशन। मैंने सर 1 CR का लोन लिया, उसकी इंस्टॉलमेंट विद इंटरेस्ट मेरा डेट
नहीं, लोन अलाउ नहीं होगा, जो रिपेमेंट ऑफ लोन तो नहीं होगा, जो इंटरेस्ट है वो तो एक्सपेंडिचर है आपका, एनी एक्सपेंडिचर जो लोन का पेमेंट कर रहे हैं वो एप्लीकेशन अलाउ हो जाएगा।
प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट, प्रिंसिपल कंपोनेंट अलाउ नहीं होगा, इंटरेस्ट कंपोनेंट अलाउ हो जाएगा।
इंटरेस्ट अलाउ।
और सर उसके लिए मान लीजिए अगर मेरे पास कोई फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेस चल रहा है तो मैंने कोई अनसिक्योर्ड लोन ले लिए, क्या वो मेरी रिसीट्स मानी जाएंगी सर?
अनसिक्योर्ड लोन टू दी अकाउंटिंग तो कभी आपका मतलब मेरे ख्याल से इनकम नहीं मानी जाती लॉ में। अनसिक्योर्ड लोन, कोई भी लोन जो अनसिक्योर्ड लोन है वो तो लोन ही रहेंगे।
हाँ जी। तो उसका कहीं पे भी नहीं आएगा सर, ना उसका रिसीट्स में आएगा ना एप्लीकेशन में आएगा।
ना रिसीट्स में, करेक्ट।
और मतलब मान लीजिए मैंने इंस्टॉलमेंट देना है लेकिन मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है, तो मैंने कहीं से अनसिक्योर्ड लोन ले लिए, तो वो कहीं पे भी नहीं आएगा जी उसका?
नहीं, वो रिसीट नहीं है, वो लोन ही है आपका, लोन है।
राइट सर।
तो क्योंकि आपने एक बार आपने एप्लीकेशन क्लेम कर चुके हैं, इसलिए लोन का रिपेमेंट आपको एप्लीकेशन नहीं मिलता है।
नहीं, वो नहीं मिलेगा अगर फर्दर मैंने और कोई अनसिक्योर्ड लोन ले लिया
और लोन लिया है तो वो तो लोन है आपका, अनसिक्योर्ड लोन है, वो इनकम नहीं है, कोई रिसीट नहीं है आपकी।
राइट सर, थैंक यू सर।
सर केशव जी का क्वेश्चन है, केशव जी आप पूछ सकते हैं अनम्यूट करके।
यस, गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
गुड आफ्टरनून
सर, हम लोग एजुकेशन ट्रस्ट रन करते हैं, ठीक है, और उसमें स्कूल चलती है हमारी। तो हमारे ट्रस्ट के ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज में जो दिया हुआ है वो है एजुकेशन रिलीफ ऑफ द पुअर, मेडिकल रिलीफ एंड एडवांसमेंट ऑफ एनी अदर चैरिटेबल ऑब्जेक्ट्स। तो सर ये ऑब्जेक्ट सही है हमारे?
अगेन, वन इज एजुकेशन और एजुकेशन रिलीफ टू द पुअर।
सर ओनली एजुकेशन, रिलीफ ऑफ द पुअर अलग।
हाँ, एजुकेशन कॉमा देन रिलीफ टू द पुअर कॉमा, यस,
या मेडिकल रिलीफ,
मेडिकल रिलीफ,
राइट, हाँ, एंड एडवांसमेंट ऑफ एनी अदर चैरिटेबल ऑब्जेक्ट्स।
ओके, सब कवर कर लिया आपने।
तो सर ये क्या हमारे स्कूल के हिसाब से ये ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज ठीक है या केवल एजुकेशन ही होना चाहिए था इसमें?
नहीं, बट सर आई थिंक यू आर रनिंग अ स्कूल फॉर क्वाइट अ लॉन्ग टाइम।
राइट सर, 96 से।
96 is sir, already, because when you made the constitution, everything is there, and now your main object are having and already you got a 12A registration earlier also, so everything been allowed to you, but you are only covering currently one activity, which is education,
right,
practically, and only if you are giving education to various economy weaker section or poor student, maybe that can be covered under education or relief to the poor also, na? So that is there. I think that most of the erstwhile educational institutions have similar objects. 19% of the education institution which are being run currently and which have all the registration, so they currently, I think this is the main object. Now why should you amend it? Because unnecessarily you will have to go to the income tax authority again, and it will open a lot of Pandora box for litigation. So I think it should continue with that.
ओके सर, एक्चुअली मुझे जैसे दूसरे सजेशंस दे रहे थे कि अगर आप स्कूल रन करते हो तो केवल आपको इसमें एजुकेशन वाला ही क्लॉज रखना है, अदर क्लॉज आप नहीं रख सकते, ऐसा कोई जजमेंट का कोई रेफरेंस दे रहे थे। मैं
तो
मुझे नहीं पता।
नया जजमेंट एक आए हैं, एक नया जजमेंट आया, बट आप एक्टिविटी, यू सी, आपका ऑब्जेक्ट ऑलरेडी, यू सी, व्हेन यू स्टार्टेड द सोसाइटी you had 4 or 5 objects. Now one of the main object was running a school, and you are still following that. If you have some other object also, you may not be pursuing those objects, but your first object you are pursuing, and you are okay with that. In my opinion, you should not amend it, and should not, because if that has to be done, then 90% of all the education institution all over India will have to amend that. So why you want to be the first one, and you want to be the person whose case will be citing in every lecture?
No, thank you so much, sir.
I think why to avoid this thing, na? What?
Okay, sir.
Sir, we have a charitable trust, and if we receive some immovable property as a donation, whether it will be a corpus fund or it will be a general fund.
I'm not audible. Can you come again, please?
Yeah.
Little louder, please. Little louder, please.
If we are a charitable trust, if we receive a immovable property as a donation, whether it will be part of corpus or whether it will be part of general.
You see, you received immovable property, which is a capital asset. But whether what is more important is the letter of the donor.
We are the receiver. We are the
have that
donee.
in the letter, the donor will have to specify this property I am giving towards corpus fund, or this property I am giving towards general fund.
Oh, if that is not mentioned, they have simply donated the property for the objects of the trust.
So then if it is not mentioned, then it could be taken as general fund, because we have to
A general fund, and it is application of funds. So
yeah, it is that is separate, but because it is not mentioned, because as per the income tax law, there has to be intention of the donor. So if he is not intent that this is the corpus fund, then it goes to the general fund only.
Then we have to show as a donation receipt and then application of income as towards the property. In kind.
Yes. You have received so much, you will have to credit to your general fund or donation, and then you will say this is the property which has come along with that. That is the application. Correct.
Right. And another question: if you make a donation to various other trusts for running their objects, so whether it is allowed fully or it is some certain percentage of?
No, for the financial year 22-23, within the main objects, if you are donating to some other trust which are having the same object, which you are the objectives you are having, then it is allowed. From the financial year 23-24, now in the current financial year, only 85% will be allowed.
Right.
Full amount will not be allowed. There has been amendment in the law which is applicable for assessment year 24-25, but for 23-24, fully 100% it is allowed.
Oh, thank
you. Roshan Lal ji,
madam, can we take now the amount to be disallowed from application, and then we can cover other queries?
हाँ सर, सर आप कंप्लीट कर ले, फिर संजय दा का डिलिबरेशन है, उसके बाद सर अपने फाइनली लास्ट में सारा क्वेश्चंस ले लेते हैं. If that okay with you?
No, only in brief only I wanted to cover that amount to be disallowed from application.
Okay, sir.
For everyone's
Okay, sir.
knowledge, just I can go through them. That various amount which from the application we will have to reduce that amount to be disallowed, amount disallowable under the section, various section, that is also part of the audit report. So those clauses like 40A where TDS has not been deducted, just like the normal 44AB and whatever disallowance is there. So those section has also become now applicable, that any disallowance under the clause, subclause 1A, clause A of section 40, or if any cash payment is there of expenditure, or any donation which is made which is not to a proper trust which is not registered, or any donation which is not having the same object, or any donation which is to other than any your own objectives are not there, so they are also now being disallowed. So we have to very properly read the main object, our own trust, and if those covers under the main objective, then those will be allowed. Like similarly, application outside India for which approval provision to clause C of section 1 of section 11 has not been obtained, or application outside India for which approval under provision to clause C of subsection 1 of section 11 has been obtained and applied for any other purpose beyond the object of the auditee. So if any amount is applied which is not covered any of the objects or any other disallowance, so all those amount will be disallowed and will be not allowed as application. And I think Pallavi, I think Sanjay Dada has to start at 1, I think.
Yes, sir.
So I think he can start.
Yes, sir.
He can start, and then we can take the queries later on, maybe at around 2:30 or 2.
Okay? Yes, sir. We can do that.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We will join. I'll be there.
Friends,
I will be there. I will be there, and then we'll take up the queries. Yes, please, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
इसका वीडियो मिल जाएगा क्या?
हाँ जी, YouTube पे मिल जाएगा आपको.
Thank you.
Sanjay da, I request Sanjay Bhattacharya to please start his deliberation. Akhil ji, are you there?
Yes, I am coming, but,
okay,
but video is not working. Let me try it.
Yes, sir, you're visible, sir.
I'm visible, but it's not coming on my screen. Let me check.
Sir, you are visible. If you are not,
Sir, you're visible, sir.
you're very well visible. You're looking very handsome.
But on my screen it is not coming. Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah, with your bright red shirt or maroon shirt, it is looking very nice.
Thank you very much. Akhilji, thanks to you for covering that important clause number 31 of form number 10B. So I am straightway going to rule 17AA. If there be any questions later on, then we can discuss about the forms and all this. Now, friends, this form number 10B and 10B that has been discussed by Jindalji, this has come out, this form has come out and it was notified in February 23. But before that, in August 2022, particularly on 10th of August 2022, a new rule 17AA along with certain other rules were inserted in relation to these charitable and religious organizations. Now, if a chartered accountant commences filling in form number 10B or 10BB without having a clear idea of rule 17AA, particularly the requirement, the compliances required under rule 17AA, in my opinion, there will be difficulty in every step. So I suggest, and I think Mr. Jindal will also agree with me, a chartered accountant before commencement of filling in form number 10B or 10BB, whichever may be applicable, should go through at least twice this rule 17AA. Because in 10B, there is a specific requirement of the auditor to say that whether rule 17AA has duly been complied with or not. So you can appreciate that without having a clear idea of the requirements of rule 17AA, how can a chartered accountant write their yes or no? It is a clear-cut answer to be given, yes or no. And of course, we have got the shield in our form itself, like our tax audit under 44AB. In the report, in form number 10B, there is a box, there is a space where we can give our observations in regard to any reporting made in form number 10B. So let us see what 17AA includes. Friends, I am not at my place. I stay in Kolkata, but now I am in Bengaluru, so I don't have the act and rules in front of me. So whatever are in my memories and something I could find out from Google, on that basis I am talking. But afterwards, when there will be any question that may be raised, I shall try my best. But first, let's consider what are contained in rule 17AA. Firstly, we have to keep in our mind this rule 17AA is applicable for which types of organizations. This is applicable for any charitable or religious organizations registered under section 12A, read with 12AB, and also any educational institution or medical institution or hospital approved under section 1023C subclauses 4, 5, 6, and 6A. These are the 5 types of organizations which are covered under Rule 17AA and also form number 10B and 10BB. That we have to keep in our mind. Now,
Correct.
We request to please keep yourself on mute, please.
Should I continue?
Yes, sir. Please continue, sir.
Yes. Now, I have made a list what are the requirements of 17AA today in the morning. So I am going one by one. Firstly, they have mentioned what are the books of accounts are to be maintained. Cash book, ledger, journal, copies of invoices or receipts issued by the organizations to the persons from whom monies have been received, then original bills or receipts that have been given to the persons who had made some payments to the organization, then books of accounts of any business undertaking, if there be any, referred to in section 11.4, books of accounts of business other than those referred to in section 11.4. Now these are mentioned at A, B, and C. Thereafter comes D. So we have to discuss in details about this D, because the first things which I have just now told, A, B, C, are not very much abnormal to us. These are very normal things which we expect that an organization should maintain. We know that books of accounts are to be maintained. Those should be supported by supporting documents and all these things. These are only mentioned there. Then in D, the heading is that other documents which are required to be maintained. Here, friends, the important things come out. Here we have to, we means the auditors have to check whether due compliances have been made. Now let me tell you, when I start telling these things, if you have not yet gone through this rule 17A, don't be surprised greatly. Though you will be surprised, there is no doubt about it. First of all, record of all projects and institutions containing details of their name and address of objects. Friends, you know, whether it's a charitable trust or a society registered under Societies Registration Act, or a company registered under Article Section 25 of the Companies Act 1956, or Section 8 of Companies Act 2013, or it's a artificial juridical person. These four types of categories can be there. About the status we are talking about. Now, any of these type of organizations can have more than one activities. It may run a school, it may run more than one school, it may run hospital, it may run more than 2 hospitals, it may run old aged home, it may run drug addict centers, it may run certain other things which are of charitable nature, or it may have run some religious places, temples, gurdwara, mosques, churches, etc. For each one, let us consider that as a separate project. So, under clause D, first point will be that the particular organization has to have certain details about the name of that project, where it is being run, and what are the specific objects of that particular project. This is the first point. Then comes Roman 2. I am talking about clause sub-rule D of Rule 17AA. Number 2, record of income that have been received by the organization. First, voluntary contributions. You know that in income tax, all donations are to be considered as voluntary contributions received. What type of details must be there? Details of all the donors, names, addresses, PAN, Aadhaar. They are mentioned in the rule, all these 4. Though after PAN they have written if available, and after Aadhaar also they have mentioned other available. Now there is no threshold limit. So what we have to understand, though it may sound very, very illogical, still we have to accept it as it is. That means any donation received by the organization, for each donation, whatever may be the amount, maybe 10 rupees or maybe 10 lakh, the name of the donor, the address of the donor, PAN or other, or PAN and other, those must be recorded somewhere. Then only there will be a full compliance of this point, that voluntary contributions received, full details about the donors are being maintained as a document in compliance with Rule 17AA. Now one can say that in the cash book maintained by that organizations, whenever there is a receipt of donation or any other income, naturally the name of the person who is paying that to the organizations are recorded. But is it not a fact that the address or PAN is not written there? So now either that organization has to start a system by which in the cash book all these details will be mentioned, or a register will have to be maintained separately with 4 or 5 columns where date, name of the donor, address, PAN, Aadhaar, and amount will be recorded. And as Akhilji told a bit earlier, that those records which will be maintained, those have to be kept for 10 years. Now, every organization must have got the details from whom the donations received. Otherwise, it will be anonymous donation. You can understand if it's a charitable organization. So this is the first requirement. All receipts of donations in the form of voluntary contribution, full details must be maintained, so that when the auditor will go, auditor must be satisfied that yes, this year there are voluntary contributions received 1 crore of rupees, and I have got the full list of the donors. Number 2, after voluntary contribution, if there be certain properties owned by the organization where from certain income is earned, an organization, whether it is a charitable or a religious one, may have owned certain properties, immovable properties, where from certain incomes are being earned in the form of rent or hall charges or whatever it is. Full list of that full list of those properties must be recorded somewhere. One may say that usually list of assets are being maintained. If it is maintained, it has to be seen by the auditor whether it contains all the required details as per Rule 17AA. Then number 3, I am talking about the record of income. First, voluntary contribution. Second, list of properties. And third, other incomes. Other incomes, it may be in the form of interest, it may be in the form of membership subscription, or any type of collections which is not of the nature of voluntary contributions. Friends, we have to keep in mind that under this 1, 2, and 3, all incomes of the organization must have been recorded in some form of register or some form of details, so that a record of all types of incomes are being available in respect of that organization. Thereafter comes Roman 3, which says record of the outflows from the income of the year. First one has gone, records of inflows. Now comes question, record of outflows. Very fast point, we must keep in our mind that in case of a charitable or a religious organization, the expenses, we term them as applications of income. So here also in Rule 17AA, they have mentioned details of applications of income. Number 1, Here it is being asked that all applications, please hear this very carefully, because this is a point which, according to me, is totally illogical for maintenance. But still we have to do it. What are there? Applications of income, and what type of details? Amounts, name and address of the payee, and object for which the application is made. Now, naturally, it will come in our mind that if there is a 10 rupee expenditure, what should be done? As per this rule, that is also to be made available as per certain records. Name of the person to whom paid, what is the amount of payment, and the object or the purpose for which that payment has been made. You can imagine what type of details it will be. If there had been more than thousands numbers of payments made during the years, there will be thousands of entries made somewhere so that it can be told that we have complied with this requirement. Name of the person, money paid, not only name of the person, name and address of the payee, and amount paid. Naturally, it starts with the date of payment and then the purpose for which payment. Maybe it may be salary, maybe it may be transport, maybe it is towards donation, or whatever purpose that the organization is required to do as per its objects clause. It will have huge details. So, if it's a very big organization, what can be done? It can consult with its computer analyst or computer programmer, so that like our normal accounts in tallies and others, that whenever any payment will be recorded somewhere, automatically a separate entry will also be made in a register where it can be termed as a register of payees, so that all these details are available. But if the organization thinks that since it is not a very big one, it can maintain all these details in its cash book and on ledger, then that will be sufficient compliance. But I think it will be very difficult to maintain it in that way unless it's a very, very small organization. But the auditor will be required to satisfy himself or herself that these details are being maintained. Then under this record of application, this was the first one I have told. Then comes number 2. Whether any of the amount has been paid to a charitable or a religious organizations registered under section 12A or approved under 1023C subclauses 4, 5, 6 or 6A. There also, if there be anything, then the name of that organization, address, PAN, and object for which it has been paid, that has to be mentioned. Now, since in the number 1, which I had discussed 3 minutes ago, there I told that every application has to be shown, it appears that whatever is asked at number 2 must have been included in number 1 also. So we can understand the duplication of work. Then number 3, application outside India. If that organization has spent some amount outside India, then also name, address of the payee and objects for which the payment is made. So we have come for 3 items. First one, all applications. Second one, all amounts paid to any registered organization or an approved organization. Number 3, if there have been any application outside India. The first 2 that we discussed, those were for applications made inside India. Then out of these applications, we are being also asked that if there had been some deemed application, you know the deemed application, I'm not going into details, only deemed application which had been considered in any earlier year, as per clause 2 of explanation 1 to section 11, then if any expenditure out of that deemed application made this year, that details are to be given here. You can understand that if any deemed application had been allowed in the preceding year, then in this year you will not get any deduction for that application. Here that amount has to be mentioned. Then number 5, any application made out of income accumulated under section 11(2). You remember that there is a provision in subsection 2 of section 11 of accumulating for period not exceeding 5 years by filing form number 10. So here they ask whether any expenditure is there which was out of certain income accumulated in any earlier year. Then comes number 6, investments made in accordance with section 11(5). So this year's income, out of current year's income, how much new investments have been made in accordance with section 11(5), that have to be mentioned. And number 7, if any investment has been made otherwise than in accordance with section 11(5), that have to be mentioned. So friends, under this subclause Roman 3, the record of the outflows from income of the year, number 1 had been application of income, all applications. Number 2, amounts paid to organizations. Number 3, applications made outside India. Number 4, out of deemed application. Number 5, out of accumulated income under section 11(2). Number 6, investment made under section 11(5) and investments other than 11(5). Someone was asking something? Hello?
Sir, we will take the questions once you'll complete the.
Okay. I will take about about maybe maximum 25 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Thereafter questions can be asked.
Okay, sir.
Now the problem is that I am not seeing my photo on the video, so I don't understand how I am appearing.
Sir, you are appearing great, sir.
Thank you. Now, coming to Roman number 4, record of the applications made out of income of any earlier year. See, just now in subclause Roman 3, we discussed, I told about the income, applications of income out of the income of the year. Now the point is record of applications made out of incomes of earlier year. Here, what they are asking, that if there be any application out of accumulated income under section 11(2) of earlier year, here the names and addresses of the payee and objects of application have to be given. You remember that just 2 minutes earlier, when I was discussing about Roman 3, there also I told that income accumulated, and there I included only the deemed application of that year, current year, and also income accumulated under section 11(2). Here the point is different. Here, any accumulation made for any earlier year, application made from accumulated income of earlier year, that has to be mentioned with the details of payee's name, address, PAN, and objects of application. Number 2, application out of deemed application of earlier year. Then application of accumulated income, application of accumulation other than these two, that means deemed application and 11(2) out of earlier year. This is which you can understand, that means those out of the permissible accumulation up to 5%, 15% that we had in the earlier years. That means these 3 are separately they are asking out of normal accumulation permissible up to 15% of any earlier year, out of deemed application, out of any earlier year, out of accumulated accumulation of any earlier year. And then they ask at 4 and 5, investments made out of in accordance with 11.5, an investment made other than 11.5 out of this earlier income, that have to be mentioned here. Then Roman 5. There are actually the points in this rule 17 AA sub rule 1. There are specific points of numbering 10. I have reached now number 5. Roman 5. Details of corpus donations received. That means during this year, the year under audit, if there had been any corpus donation received, then number 1, the details of the donor, name, address, PAN, and Aadhaar. You remember earlier we had talked that whatever donations have been received. Now out of that donation, if there be any donation with the direction for forming in the corpus, that details have to be given in subclause 5. Then number 2, if any application has been made out of the corpus donation, then the payee's name, address, object of payment. Here, as Mr. Jindal also made a reference to, that you know that out of corpus donation, the organization is not allowed to apply anything because the corpus donation is an exempt income. So how can there be any application out of exempt income? But as per the current provision of law, that if any application had been made out of corpus fund because of some emergency, then in the year of that application, it is not to be allowed. But in the year that money will be redeposited as investment, then there will be application. So here the question is under Roman 5, that application out of corpus donation, that has to be given in the form of name of the payee, address of the payee, PAN of the payee. Then number 3, whether any corpus donation has been made. Number 1 and number 2, we have number 1, we have considered corpus donation received. Number 2, whether any application had been made out of corpus donation. And number 3, whether out of the corpus donation received, any corpus donation has been made to another organization registered under 12AB or approved under section 1023C 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That has to be mentioned here. Here just I want to mention and bring to your attention that any charitable or religious organization is prohibited to make any corpus donation to another registered charitable organization or any approved institution under section 1023C. Here they want to have the reporting by the auditor whether such type of thing has been done out of the corpus donation made during the year. Then number 4, investments of the corpus donation. And number 5, investment of corpus donation other than 11.5. Then comes number 6. Any application made out of corpus donation received in earlier year. We were talking about the corpus application out of the corpus donation received during the year. And there may be a case that corpus donation had been received in an earlier year, but certain money out of it has been spent. So here the details have to be given that whether any corpus, whether any earlier received corpus donation has been utilized this year. There also the payee's name, address, and objects of this payment has to be mentioned. And number 7, if such type of donation has been made out of the corpus donation received in earlier year to an organization registered under 12AB. 12AB, you know that because 12AB is being used because the renewals of registration that had been made in 21 and 22, 2021 and 2022, those were under 12A read with 12AB. 12AA is now gone. So that's why they are mentioning that if that organization is registered under 12AB, or approved under 1023C under those 4 sub-clauses 4, 5, 6, 6A. Then at number 8, any investment made out of corpus donation received in earlier years. Then investment of corpus donation received in earlier years otherwise than 11.5. Then also it is being asked, this is a very important point, number 10, that if any investment or deposit is made out of the corpus donation utilized earlier year, those details have to be given, because as per the present law, any application out of corpus donation is not to be allowed as application. But when that will be redeposited, then it becomes an application. These details are to be given in 10 of subclause Roman 5. Then comes Roman 6, Roman subclause 6. Here, you know, there is a provision in section 80G subsection 2 clause small b, whereby certain places, churches, mosques, gurdwaras, temples, which may have been notified by the government as places of heritage, there also the donors get deduction under 80G. So here, any contribution, if the organization which we are auditing is of that nature, then whether any contribution has been received for renovation or repairs of temple, mosque, gurdwara, church, etc., which had been notified under section 80G2B, then that has to be mentioned here. Why? What is the speciality of this? This just I am telling in 1 minute. Usually we understand corpus donation only where the concerned donor has given instruction in writing that it will form part of corpus of the organization. But only in cases of this type of organizations which are notified under section 80G2B as per section 11(1) explanation 3A, they are entitled to consider any donation as corpus donation if that had been received for the renovation or repairs of temple, mosques, etc. This is a special allowance made to those type of organizations. So here it is to be mentioned that if any contribution has been received here, and then out of that contribution, if something has been utilized by that organization, then again, these type of organizations, whether any contribution received in an earlier years and considered as corpus, then that has been utilized, and any application made out of these contributions during the year with the objects, those have to be mentioned. Here also separately we have to mention means the organization has to be mentioned and auditor has to report about it, that any amount of this nature, whether paid to any organization registered under 12A, read with 12AB, or any organization approved under section 1023C. Thereafter, at 5 and 6, they have asked that if that type of corpus is there, corpus means which has been considered as corpus by the organization as per section 11(1) explanation 3A, how that has been invested in accordance with section 11(5) or other than 11(5). Then, if any application has been made out of such type of corpus received in earlier year, here also there has to be separate mentioning that whether that type of application has been made by making a donation to another organization registered under 12AB or approved. Then also the investments made thereof. Then number 7, this is records of loans and borrowings. As Mr. Jindal also made a reference during his deliberations, you know that when any loan or borrowing is received, any amount applied out of that is not to be considered as application of income. But when that loan will be repaid, if repaid within 5 years, then to the extent of that repayment, provided that it was not treated as application in an earlier year, and that has been there only after 31st March of 2021, then those repayment of loan will be considered as application. So here it is to be written in this subclause, subclause of rules 17AA, is that amount and date of loan and borrowing that has been received, then application made out of that, and also application of any loan borrowing that may have been received in an earlier year, and repayment of such loan or borrowing which is to be applied, which is to be considered as application during this year. Then number 8, this requires the recording of all the properties, immovable properties and movable properties, names, address, and if there has taken any transfer, then those details have to be given with the cost of acquisition. Then number 9, friends, you have to be, the auditor has to be very careful about it. Here, there is a requirement of records to be maintained of specified persons. Who are these specified persons? The specified person mean those persons whose names are appearing in section 13 in bracket 3. You can understand who are they: authors, settlers, committee members, or any person who had made a contribution of more than 50,000 rupees up to date. Those persons which we normally call as prohibited category of persons. That means any transaction with those persons are to be very carefully checked, because any transaction with those persons may bring withdrawal of recognition, withdrawal of the registration under 12A, or withdrawal of the approval of section 1023C 4, 5, 6, 7. Here, what has to be written in the details: names, addresses, PAN, then details of transactions undertaken with them, because the auditor and thereafter the tax authorities will check whether any of those transactions could be considered as violation of the relevant rule, relevant provisions in section 13, which will straightway result in the cancellation of registration under 12A or cancellation of approval obtained under section 1023C. So very carefully these names have to be found out, and only the auditee can supply this thing. The tax auditor who is doing the audit cannot have this on his own. Then number 10, they are asking any other documents which may have got any relevant information. These 10 sub-rules are to be very carefully checked by the auditor, because when he or she will fill in that form number 10B, it has to be reported there at number 14 that whether due compliance had been made and as required under rule 17AA. Then thereafter comes sub-rule 2. Whatever we have discussed from the moment I started deliberating, it was all under sub-rule 1 of 17AA, rule 17AA. Now comes sub-rule 2 of 17AA. Here it is being mentioned that all these books of accounts and the document that we have just now, I was telling, those can be kept and maintained in a written form. It can be in electronic form. It can be in digital form, or in printouts, or data stored in electronic form, or in digital form, or any other form of electromagnetic data storage system. Whatever that organization is maintaining for its accounts, it can be used for that. Then comes sub-rule 3. Friends, this sub-rule 3, please hear it carefully. Very, very, very important. Rule 17AA requires that all these books of accounts and other documents are to be maintained only at the registered office of the organization. What is registered office? Naturally, if it is a society, whatever is appearing in their memorandum of association, if it is a trust deed, whatever is appearing in the trust deed, if it is a company, whatever is mentioned in its memorandum of association or articles of association, subject to the changes that may have been made later on. So the auditor have to check that thing. Further, a special check should be there. This is my suggestion, that the auditor should ask for the last year's return of income so that he or she can come to know what address was being given in ITR 7. That will help. And there are so many organizations which are having more than one office. I'm giving example of YMCA, Ramakrishna Mission, Bharat Sevashram Sangha. There are lots of organizations who have got various offices throughout India. And an organization may have a hospital, may have more than one hospital. It may have a school, more than one school. And usually the books of accounts and other documents will be kept at that school or hospital at various offices. Then at the registered office or head office, those are consolidated, and thereafter the accounts are finalized and the audit is being done before filing of the return of income in the name of the organization. We are very much familiar with many organizations which are having more than one offices. Now this Sub-Rule 3 of Rule 17AA requires all the books of accounts and other documents to be maintained at the registered office. But considering that the difficulties that will be there, the Government of India, the Central Board of Direct Taxes made a proviso to this Sub-Rule 3. What it says? That books of accounts and other documents may be kept. What I am using, may be kept at any other place in India as the concerned management, whether it is trustees or the executive committee or the governing committee or the board of directors, if they decide by way of a resolution, please put your mind on this, by way of a resolution, that certain books of accounts will be maintained at places other than the registered office. Next, whenever such type of resolution will be taken for maintenance of books of accounts and other documents at places other than the registered office, then the duty of the organization will be that within 7 days therefrom, I repeat, within 7 days therefrom, to intimate its jurisdictional assessing officer about that resolution with the details, what are the names and addresses of those places where books of accounts and other documents which are to be mentioned separately there to be maintained. So if any books of account or any other document that are required to be kept and maintained under Rule 17AA will be kept at a place other than the registered office of the organization, a resolution by the appropriate committee has to be taken, and the date on which this decision will be taken within 7 days therefrom, the jurisdictional assessing officer has to be intimated about it. This is the requirement, and also that intimation has to be signed by only that person who is authorized to sign the return as per section 140. That means you can understand how much important is this particular sub-rule. Now comes number 4, sub-rule 4, that all these books of accounts and other documents have to be kept for 10 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So you can understand that the books of accounts that are to be maintained as per Rule 17AA, which was made effective on 10th August 2022. That means the end of the assessment year means to 31/03/2024, because it is the assessment year 2023-24. From 31st March 2024 till 31st March 2034, all these books of accounts, all other documents have to be kept at the registered office or at other places by the concerned organization. So these are Rule 17AA. Unless the chartered accountant going to report in form number 10B, mention and check all these things, then it will not be possible to report in form number 10B. Here I am just mentioning that at serial number 14 of form number 10B, the auditor has to mention about the compliance of, just 1 minute. Number 14, the question that is asked at 14 Roman 1, whether the books of accounts and other documents have been kept and maintained in the form and manner and at such place as prescribed under Rule 17AA by the auditee. Now, here, let me tell you also this thing, by way of notes to form number 10B, it has been stated how this have to be maintained and that codes are to be given. And in 14 Roman 2, in clause 14, that is clause 14 of form number 10B, they have asked the organization to provide the organization, or I should say the tax auditor who is doing the audit, provide the following details of books of account and other documents. The columns I am just reading out: serial number, nature of books of accounts. This is to be given by way of code given in the notes. Whether maintained by the auditee, yes or no. Whether maintained in a computer system, yes or no. Whether maintained at the registered office, yes or no. Then if maintained at any place other than the registered office, there are sub-columns 3, address of such place, date of decision by the management to keep the accounts at such other place. Number 3, date of intimation to assessing officer that books of accounts are kept at such place under proviso to sub Rule 3 of Rule 17AA. And the last column is number 9, whether the books of accounts have been audited. So this number 14, since a chartered accountant will have to fill in, he or she has to be very careful. Now, at one of the meetings, I was asked that if we find that not full compliance have been made, what should we write? Yes or no? I told the moment we write no there, the organization loses its registration. If we write yes, then I must, as an auditor, I must save my skin also. So in the observation, I must give the details that though it has been mentioned there as yes, subject to qualification that say PAN of all the pays are not recorded, or details of all application could not be found, something like that, so that the auditor does not face any professional negligence. Here I have discussed about Rule 17AA, and I am concluding my deliberations. If there be any question raised, I shall be glad to try to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we can now start taking questions. There are a lot of.
Please ask the person to whom that question is being directed to.
Okay, sir. Okay. There are a lot of hands has been raised since long. Roshan Lal ji, if you are there, you can ask the question.
Yes, madam.
Please mention for whom you're.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please, please question. Please answer.
Time limit for spending corpus donations.
Please tell whom you are asking.
Hello. Hello, sir. Kindly, sir, kindly. Hello, what is the time limit for spending corpus donations, sir?
रोशन लाल जी आप किससे क्वेश्चन करें संजय जी से कि अखिल जी से प्लीज मेंशन द नेम आल्सो
सर मेरे लिए सर both are anyone can sir give you sir
please answer the question Sanjay da please answer the question.
Okay, see, question of application of corpus fund should not arise, but if application has been made because of necessity, then within a period of 5 years, the money that has been utilized out of corpus fund should be paid back to the investments made out of corpus fund, and only in that year where the redeposit will be made, then it will be considered as application, and that has to be done within 5 years from the end of the year in which that application had been made out of corpus fund.
Okay, sir.
अमित जी आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं नेक्स्ट अमित भट्टाचार्य जी आर के खन्ना जी प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ एंड आस्क क्वेश्चन
Madam, one thing, I am here up to maximum 2 o'clock.
Okay, sir. Sir, Akhil ji is already, I think he's not there right now.
Okay, but whatever questions are there to maximum 5 or 10 minutes past 2, I shall answer.
Okay,
but,
sure.
But there is a time limit for me, please.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Sanjay ji, sir,
yes.
an entity not registered under Section 12A has FC foreign receipts,
yes,
foreign donations.
Yes.
Which form should be filed in this case?
10B is applicable only for a concern, a charitable or a religious organizations who is registered under 12A, read with 12AA or 12AB, and also approved under section 1023C subclause 4, 5, 6, 6A. Otherwise, this form is not to be utilized by any other organization, whether it is received foreign contribution or not.
It means Form 5 is to be filed. Huh?
Beg your pardon?
It means Form 5 should be filed. Form 5.
Yes, if it is not registered,
then
see, you have to see it in this way. ITR 7 is applicable for only those organizations which are claiming exemption under section 11.
Okay, sir.
Or under 1023C.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are not eligible to claim there, naturally the only form left is ITR 5.
Okay. Yes, sir. Sir, one more question. An organization has so many branches at different places. Head office in Delhi. Then branches records are kept at branches. What will be the position in that case?
When I was talking about Rule 17AA.
Okay, sir.
Under Rule 17AA, at Sub Rule 2, it is mentioned at Sub Rule 3. It is mentioned that those accounts and other documents are to be kept and maintained only at the registered office. But by way of a proviso, it has been provided that the management of the organization can take a decision by way of a resolution that books of accounts may be kept at places other than the registered office. But the requirement is that the date that it will be taking this decision, within 7 days therefrom, that organization must intimate the jurisdictional assessing officer by way of writing, whether by email or by delivering a physical copy that is to be signed by the person who is authorized to sign the return, that this is the resolution taken, and according to this resolution, our these books of accounts are to be kept at these places. Then there will be due compliance.
Sir, is it applicable for the assessment of 23-24?
Friends, when Mr. Jindal was talking, he was also referring, but I am giving my view. See, this rule 17AA was made effective by the notification dated 10th August 2022, and it was made effective from that year. But it has been made effective from assessment year 2023-24. So anyone can ask that how on 10th of August I can have these details from 1st of April to 9th of August.
Right,
That
sir.
is a very normal question.
Right.
So what myself, I am advising at my various meetings that please see that from 10th of August it is maintained. And if possible, then make for the back period. But from 10th August, it was required to be maintained. So compliance made from 10th August should be considered as due compliance.
If the assessee has not informed to the jurisdictional AO, is it possible to inform itself now, sir, before filing the 10B?
I should say that you must mention here, and there in that letter, please add 3 lines that please condemn the delay occurred in this thing.
Right, sir,
Please
right.
add that thing there.
Okay.
Otherwise, the auditor will be forced to write that you have not complied. Because here he has to mention that on which date this resolution has been taken and by which date this intimation has been made. See, unofficially I can say, though in a public platform I'm talking about, that many of the organizations, depending upon the date when they are able to intimate, on that basis they are taking this resolution by back date. You can think of how we can do it.
Right, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sanjay, I have a question. You have mentioned anonymous donation.
Yes.
Anonymous donations are applicable to education institution and medical colleges. Is it applicable to charitable trust also?
The anonymous donation clause under section 115 BBC is applicable for any charitable organization, any. Even for religious and charitable organization combined, where the charitable works are relating to universities, educational institutions. But it is applicable for all charitable organizations.
Okay.
Sanjay Tayal ji, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello.
Yes.
My question is to Sanjay Daji.
बोलिए आप भी मेरा नाम कोई तो है बोलिए.
Sir, whether any education institution is paying affiliation, examination fee and course content fee to foreign universities.
What?
For education.
What you have told, some fees you have talked about?
Huh?
You please repeat your question, please.
See, I got a charitable trust which runs an educational institution.
Yes.
They are paying fees to foreign universities and foreign institutions towards affiliation, exam fee and course content fees. Does this amount to foreign application of money?
See, if the money is spent outside India,
yes,
then it is of course application out of India, because see, section 11 says, if you go through section 11, it is written there, applications made in India. So applications out of India, as per section 11, subsection 1, subclause C, you must get an approval from the government of India. You have to follow, you please go through that 11(1)(c) for taking a permission to spend that money.
Okay.
11(1)(c).
So do we have to take a blanket permission for the whole year, or we have to take specific wise?
See, I am not sure whether there is any prescribed form for that, but at least you can make an attempt through income tax portal.
Okay.
Whether it is blanket or not, usually I understand that when you are going to utilize that money, just before that you should take the permission. You should ask, you should seek the permission. Otherwise, that amount will not be considered as application of your income.
Understood. My second question is, this application of trust money in electronic form and non-electronic form.
Yes.
What does the non-electronic form mean? By payment of check?
See, I'm telling you, because when that form came, a question arose whether payment by account pay check will be considered as electronic or non-electronic.
Yes.
Now, at the end of form number 10B, they have given the list by way of a circular, by way of a clarificatory circular. The CBDT has clarified that, of course, the account pay checks will be considered as, or through bank channels will be considered as electronic. That means what we understand, that other than electronic will be only in case of cash or in kind.
Okay. Okay. I got your point, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hashmukh Doshi ji, आप please unmute yourself and ask the question.
As per Rule 17AA, details of name and address of the donation are to be recorded. But at the religious trust can accept anonymous donation, and name and address are not taken by religious trust. Is it compulsory to maintain such details for the religious trust?
See, what you have told is correct. But when they have made this Rule 17AA, it was not made only for charitable organization, but it is made for charitable and religious organization. If those details are not given, there will be no question of chargeability of anonymous donation under section 115 BCC. But still, I think that whatever details you can have, you should mention in the documents to be maintained, so that the total donations received tally with your account's total donation. But there will not be any disallowance, there will not be any chargeable tax, because it is for religious organization. But Rule 17AA does not give any special exclusion for that.
Can anonymous donation can be taxed as unexplained cash credit under section 68 by AO in case of details are not given?
See, I should say like this thing, when there is any specific provision for anonymous donation in 115 BBC, then because of the presence of existence of a specific provision in the Act in relation to anonymous donation, question of 68 should not come.
So can I ask third question?
I don't have any objection, provided the lady permits me.
So my trust is only educational purposes, running medical college, and for the purpose of running medical college, it is also running hospital, and in that hospital, it has to incur a lot of loss. Whether it will be considered as disallowable, it is not as per object of the trust.
See, as Mr. Jindal also told, that before you touch form number 10B, then you must first go through the objects of the organization. Now your case is the trust. So objects of the trust deed have to be shown. If in the trust deed there is a clause for running medical institution as well as medical hospital, that means within your objects you are carrying out the activities. If there is a loss, there will be loss. But medical hospital means a running of a business. But that business will be as per section 11(4). So that computation, when you will make, the income tax department is empowered to see your computation of income or loss from that business. If you have to go through that section, but still I'm telling you, if the assessment department, assessing authority finds out that your computation, whatever loss or income has been shown, that as per the assessing officer's computation, there will be some more income or some lesser loss, then to that extent, it will not be considered as towards your objects, and that will be added and that will be taxable.
Sir, AO is asking the issue that the trust is running only for education purpose. Though the trust is running medical college, trust cannot run medical hospital.
I told you that you have to first check whether your objects clause allow you that running of a hospital. If it is not, then there is violation of the objects clause, which will.
Sir, please, medical hospital, to run a medical hospital is a condition for permission of medical college.
Your object, does it allow to run a hospital?
But running a medical college, it is as per object.
But running a medical college and running a hospital are two different things. You can easily understand. And also, and your organization is approved under section 12A, isn't it? Not
Right.
1023C.
No.
So under 12A, you can have multiple objects. But the condition is that it must have been specified there. If the objects clause is only for running a medical institution, then I am afraid it will be considered as violation of the objects and it will result in a very bad way.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I think we can take one or two questions
Sir.
from the chat box also.
Please,
Sir.
not more than two, please.
Yes,
Sir, one question. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, the trust is registered under 12A, but
Yes.
it wants to file ITR 5. It doesn't want to take the benefits of the exemption. Is it allowed?
You have to go through section 115 TD. That says that when an organization considers itself as non-charitable, then what happens? It's a very dangerous thing. There will be a taxation of 30% of all the assets that it owns. I don't know how one organization can think of it.
Oh, what happens, sir? If the profit is only surplus is very small, 50,000 rupees only, a small trust registered under 12A, they don't have any assets also. So they can take this risk of 115 TD also. Is it allowed then to file ITR 5?
See, this ITR 7 is to be applied when an organization is claiming exemption under 11.
Sir.
If you don't want to claim exemption under 11, you can file ITR 5, keeping in mind of the application of section 115 TD.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you.
Okay.
A very good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
An entity is registered under section 12A, but
yes.
21-22 में उन्होंने ना ITR 7 फाइल किया ना ऑडिट रिपोर्ट फाइल की।
क्या?
अगर अभी हम ITR U करके अगर फाइल कर दे तो मेरे को एग्जाम्पशन मिल जाएगा?
ITR U में तो आपको ये चैरिटेबल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा।
अगर सर फाइल नहीं करे तो रिपरकशंस क्या होगा इसके?
I am telling you, ITR U requires some tax to be paid.
Yes.
Unless some tax is considered as payable by that organization, ITR U you will not be able to file ITR U. That is the prime condition. Only where certain tax is being offered, there only it will happen. That ITR U is allowed.
Yes, sir. So what will be the repercussions?
You can't do it, I'm telling you. You make an attempt, you will fail.
अगर फाइल नहीं कर सको कुछ रिपरकशंस क्या होंगे उसके ट्रस्ट पे?
आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन तो कैंसिल हो ही जाएगा। आपको if the total amount, total receipts during the year exceeded rupees 2.50 lakh and you have not filed the return as per section 12A requirement, then the because of the contravention of the concerned provisions of law, the Commission of Income Tax can cancel the registration, and then 115 TD will be applicable.
Okay.
You can do one thing. Let me tell you, you can make an attempt by filing a petition for condonation of delay before the commissioner, so that he or she allows you to file this return. That is advisable.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
सर एक मेरा क्वेश्चन है, जो हमारे जो रिकॉर्ड्स हैं ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म में रख सकते हैं सभी?
क्या चीज?
सो जो हमारे बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स हैं जो रिकॉर्ड्स मेंटेन करने हैं रूल 17AA के थ्रू, उसमें सर हम उसको इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म में रख सकते हैं सभी?
Yes, they have told that you can maintain.
और सर अगर जैसे
I told I am making the reference sub rule 2 of section 17AA that allows you to keep. Yes.
सर जैसे सब रूल 3 में उसने बोला है हमारा मतलब एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन है, तो हमारी बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स जैसे स्कूल्स में पढ़े हो डिफरेंट लोकेशंस, तो क्या हम वो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म में जो रिकॉर्ड रखा है उसको हेड ऑफिस में ट्रांसफर कर दें ड्यूरिंग से 10 दिन बाद या 15 दिन बाद, whether it is compliance for clause 4 of 10B?
I would say only this thing, because this question had been asked by many persons at several meetings, that if your head office, at your head office, you are maintaining, having a control thing, plus those documents are also there. If there is a system generated by which any entry made in at your branch offices will automatically come into the head office, and all the documents maintained are also transferred here, then you can always claim that everything is being maintained at registered office, and those are subsidiary books that are maintained there. But keep in your mind, those supporting documents have to be kept at the head office, at the registered office.
Can we transfer in regular intervals, say after 15 days?
See, you can do. There is no prohibition in this. There is nowhere it is written that it has to be entered on day-to-day basis. Nowhere it is mentioned.
So that's why I am asking that हम उसको schools में different locations से maintain करते हैं, लेकिन 15 दिन बाद उसको head office में भेज देते हैं along with the data.
And all the supporting documents?
Yes, with all the supporting documents.
Then you can. There is no prohibition. See, there are some things which are prohibited, as there are some things which are not specifically mentioned. What you are asking, it is not prohibited here. Provided within 15 days or 1 month, you are getting all the records at your head office. According to me, it is to be considered as compliance.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
संजय दा,
हेलो
हेलो
हेलो,
बोलिए बोलिए, हम सुन रहे हैं।
संजय दा, एक एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट है जो हॉस्टल भी रन कर रही है।
एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट है
जो हॉस्टल भी रन कर रही है साथ में।
अच्छा,
तो वो उसके ऑब्जेक्ट क्लास में स्पेसिफिक हॉस्टल रन करने का नहीं है, तो हॉस्टल का सारा खर्चा तो एप्लीकेशन में आएगा या नहीं आएगा?
Question is that in your object, it's a society or trust?
It's a society.
It is not mentioned to maintain a hostel.
Yeah.
See, though the hostel is maintained for the student, but there is every possibility that you will be asked with this question that why these expenses towards hostel, though maintained only for students, will be allowed.
Yeah.
So it is better that you make an entry of that, make the alteration in your object clause and get a fresh registration done before any danger happens.
और सर ये इसको एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट में एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एक्सपेंसेस में क्या-क्या आएंगे फिर?
आपको जितना खर्चा होता है, whatever amounts are being spent to run the organization will be considered as your application. Whether it is salary or telephone expenditure or transportation, whatever it is.
Hello, hello.
Including depreciation.
What are there? Huh?
Hello.
Including depreciation.
No. As regards depreciation, the requirement is this, that if when the asset had been acquired, if you have claimed 100% deduction for that acquisition in the year of acquisition, then no more depreciation will be allowed in any subsequent year.
No.
Only where the entire cost had not been claimed as application, there you can claim it as depreciation.
Hello, I'm DP Podar. May I speak?
Yes, you can.
Hello. My question is that one trust has not made total expenditure made less than 85% expenditure in the year 22-23, assessment year 22-23, and paid tax accordingly.
Okay.
Now this tax paid will be treated as application in the year 23-24 or not?
See, though there are 2 or 3 cases where this payment of income tax has been considered as application, I personally don't support that, because payment of income tax cannot be considered as any application of income towards the objects. This is my personal view. Someone may tell you that you can claim it. I am not in support of that. My personal opinion I have given.
In 10BB, there is no mention of the
registration number given for 5 years.
Registration number?
Obtained registration number for 5 years. There is no mention in 10 BB.
I don't have the 10 BB with me, but 10 B it is there. 10 BB is much a smaller form. See, one thing one has to keep in mind, every chartered accountant or any tax professional, whatever has not been asked should not be attempted to be given.
Right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
संजय सर, जैसे अभी हॉस्टल का आप बात कर रहे थे, अगर
मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था सर।
हेलो,
बोलिए, कोई एक आदमी बोलिए।
अगर मेरा एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन है एक फार एरिया में, रिमोट एरिया में है, तो वहां पे मैंने हॉस्टल बिल्ट इन किया हुआ है, क्या वह वो हमारे ऑब्जेक्ट क्लास के सब्सिडी में नहीं आएगा? अगर मैं ट्रांसपोर्ट भी मेंटेन करूं, मेस मेंटेन करूं, कुछ बच्चे मेरे ट्रांसपोर्ट के थ्रू आ रहे हैं, बाकी मेरा मतलब एक सिटी से 20 किलोमीटर दूर मेरा स्कूल है रिमोट एरिया में, तो वहां पे बच्चों के रहने के लिए अगर हमने हॉस्टल बनाया तो उसके खर्चे तो मिल जाने चाहिए सर।
Where are the schools are situated?
सर एट फार एरिया फ्रॉम द सिटीज, मतलब एक शहर से 20-22 किलोमीटर बाहर है।
हाँ,
तो रिमोट एरिया में है, तो अगर उसमें मैंने हॉस्टल मेंटेन किया है फॉर टीचर्स एंड स्टूडेंट्स, तो वो तो एक मतलब मेरा एजुकेशन पर्पस के लिए मैंने जो मेरी ऑब्जेक्ट क्लास है फॉर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन, तो उसका पार्ट एंड पार्सल नहीं गिना जाएगा सर।
but still, see, when you are maintaining, when you are running a school, it is nothing but a business, but that business income will be exempt. But there must be specific mentioning in your object clause that you will maintain hostel or you will maintain bus services. If those are not there, there is every possibility of a question arising about allowability of those expenditure.
Right, sir. Right. Sir.
Without mentioning in the object clause, that problem will be there.
Can we subsidy amend our memorandum with this subject clause?
Yes, you can maintain, but you know that whenever you are going to change your memorandum, you have to take a prior permission from the concerned Commissioner of Income Tax, and also file a fresh application in form number 10A for a fresh registration. That is the requirement.
Right, sir. Right.
And if you don't follow that thing, then the existing registration will be cancelled. Please go through the relevant section 12A.
Right, sir.
12A, I should say. Now that has been changed.
Yes.
Sir, sir, one question is there. May I speak now?
Please, I shall leave.
Yes. You are running out of time, sir. Yes.
I shall answer your question. Let that be last one, please.
One trust has received FCRA donation from outside India for construction of school building in India.
Oh.
Now the question is that school building, the land belongs to the another trust or society. Now the trust wants to build the building on that land by spending the money directly in the name of directly by taking the materials, labor and all that. Whether that will be allowed as an application?
See, if you are constructing a building, I don't know what arrangement you are making with the trust owning that land. There must be some agreement.
They have made the application that you make the construction on our land for running the school.
Okay, subject to that adjustment, subject to that agreement, which may be called upon, but whatever money you will spend, if that be the contention of the, if that have been mentioned as the purpose for which that FC will be utilized, then it will be considered as application.
That is for the purpose of construction of building. The only question is that land does not belong to the trust, so where the trust has received the FCRA donation.
Okay, but you have to ask permission from your donor.
Donor has given the permission.
No, what I am telling, you have to specify to the donor because it is under FCRA, so you have to be very careful that the donor has permitted you to construct the building on some other's land. That in writing you must have got with you. I am not talking of the Income Tax Act. I am taking
Yes, you are right, sir.
That's a very dangerous thing. That is Home Ministry matter.
Yeah.
And for income tax purposes, since you will show that the application has been made by way of cost of construction. There should not be any problem.
So the application has been made to the foreign donor, and for that construction he has sent the money, and that money is being now spent in the for the construction of the building on the land belonging to another trust or school.
This cost of acquisition, if it is permitted by your objects clause, then it will be allowed as an application for, and it will be through capital expenditure.
Right. It will be a capital expenditure.
Naturally.
And
Thank
it
you.
will. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think I have to leave now. Many thanks to all the participants.
Hello. सर एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन सर प्लीज
बोलिए
सर हमारा एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन है हमारा जो बच्चों को बिलिंग होता है उसमें ट्रांसपोर्ट चार्जेस इंक्लूड है तो ये अदर देन मतलब अदर बिजनेस तो नहीं कॉल होगा ना सर
बात ये है कि आई थिंक मिस्टर जिंदल आल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट इट you have to be very careful about the charges that you are recovering. It should not be more than say more than 5% of the cost that you are incurring, so that it is not to be considered as a separate business run by you. Because of the Supreme Court decisions in October 22, every organization is to take care about this thing.
अच्छा सर जो 17AA3 क्लॉज 3 में सर अब मैंने अभी तक मैंने जुरिडिक्शनल ऑफिसर को मैंने इन्फॉर्म नहीं किया है क्या मैं आज की डेट में अभी फॉर्म 10 भी साइन करने के पहले इन्फॉर्म वो लेटर को फाइल कर सकता हूँ
तीनों चीज आपको करने पड़ेगी एक तो है कोई करंट डेट में आप रेजोल्यूशन पास करिए उसी को 7 दिन के अंदर आपने इंटीमेशन दे दीजिए then there will be no problem in audit. They can say that on this date this resolution was passed and on this date the intimation has been made.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay then. Madam, thank you. I am leaving, please.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful speech, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm leaving, please.